sum of our choices. This is your calling, your destiny. I have no regrets. Neither should you.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
All right, so I finally saw Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, right? And yeah, because Ricardo, you gave a spoiler-free review, I will give a review, but I will include spoilers in it as well, right? But I'll just give my general thoughts on the show, and then I'll just dive into, spoiler stuff, right? But yeah, for me, wanted to really enjoy this, but unfortunately I did not, right? But that's not to say that the show didn't entertain me. That's not to say that it was a waste of time or anything like that. But it's just that, it's the finale now. It's apparently going to be the end, though. And just to jump into what really took me out of the show a number of times, where, as I said, in your, well, in the preamble to your review, yeah, it's that tone, boy. It's that somber tone that just kept taking me out of it. It just took itself so seriously, right? And what's so funny about it, what I was thinking about it, right? Because they keep telling you about the world's going to come to an end if this entity AI is not stopped, right? And yet the show wants us to believe with a straight face, without giggling or being like, oh, they're not serious, right? They really want us to believe that Mr. Ethan Hunt is the only person who could save the world from this thing.
Yeah, they really lean into that and sell that, sell that conceit as it is. And I look,
they sell that from the beginning, from the very beginning, boy. Wow, boy, you're really?
And whatever. It's like it's Bobby with that tool, right? So it's fine. Like I get it. It's fine, but it didn't bother me too much. But yeah, I can imagine some people thinking. I thought I would hate it a lot more. Like when they reveal his connection to they bring back the guy from one. The guy, right? They bring him back, and then they bring back they made
they made a reference to Tree the rabbit's foot, which catch me by surprise. I'm like, okay,
yeah, because to be fair, they never explain what the rabbit's foot does. Like I can't remember if they did, so I was like, all right, well, fine, so that's what it does. All right, fine, they connected to this. I'm like, all right, I mean, I suppose I didn't have a problem with it as it is, and I thought the guy from one was a good character. I thought he had a good character arc in this.
Yes,
as it was. As I said,
although to be fair, it is slightly on the cliche CIA/spy shit where, you do something wrong, we send you off to some frozen tundra to spend the rest of your life there or something like that. Because that's exactly what they do. They send them off to where it is, not Alaska,
around there, somewhere I forget. Out in the ice somewhere. So he was with an Inuit wife and he married, and he's I'm happy now and all of that bullshit.
And this was like the best thing that could happen to me. Like, okay, cool. Well, much props to you, right? Yeah. Another thing that I felt, for me that sort of took me out of the show was the pacing. This, believe it or not, is not a very action-heavy MI film. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be off-the-wall action, right? But I just felt like there was just a lot of time.
They only have one or two major scenes. They only have two scenes, to be honest.
But I felt a lot of time was just spent on ruminating on how serious this problem is, right? All the DEFCON warnings and, the entity, is now controlling, the nuclear weapons of this country. And, it's just the weight, though, just weighing it down. And, all right, I understand that it should weigh down Ethan, and that kind of propels him to do what he has to do, right? But I just felt like the show itself just wants you to just feel just how bad this problem is, right? Even though you know full well, Bobby just gonna stunt his way through this, right? I'll talk about stunts later on, right?
Right.
But I mean, that's not to say that the direction isn't top notch, because it is, right? Yeah. Ever since Christopher McQuarrie came in, though, I feel like he just elevates things from a direction standpoint a lot, though. You know what I mean? And no lie, while I was watching the show, I tell myself, yeah, you're right. Rogue Nation is probably the best MI movie, ever,
Right.
And I'll actually put Fallout next to it because it's a part 2, Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you like Fallout more than Rogue Nation, fine. I don't really have an issue with that. I just think Rogue Nation works for me because of how it plays itself out. I just like you said, it's more. I like the set pieces more, and I like the villain more, like the way they put the
Yes.
villain.
And
My only problem with Fallout, is that two things: the twist was real weak. Like the twist was
oh, you mean
heavily
with
telegraphed.
Henry Cavill being
Right. I
a
thought,
hero?
yeah, yeah. The twist was not only heavily telegraphed, but I thought the execution was terrible. Like how they revealed the twist. Like you're fucking serious? Like this how they edit that? I that didn't work at all for me. And then they brought back the villain, Solomon Lane. Right? It's like, okay, well, you need to bring him back. Like to me, if it was just Henry Cavill, I would have been fine. I don't know. So that's how I feel about that. But it's not like it was a bad um I think it was that bad or anything like that. I actually thought it was really good. I actually really like it a lot. As much as Rogue Nation. It's just those little things pull it down.
Yeah, I
But I
understand.
really like Rogue Nation.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I mean Rogue Nation had some really solid pieces. The
of
stuff in the opera house and thing. All that.
oh yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah, love that, right? Of course,
yeah,
of course. Just that moment at the very beginning with Tom holding on to that door on the plane when it's lifted off. I mean, that is put into my memory, right? But yeah, back to Final Reckoning, right? Gabriel is still a weak villain, right? And here's the thing, I actually recapped Dead Reckoning, and I still really really enjoyed Dead Reckoning, right? And it's ironic for me to say I prefer Dead Reckoning over this, right? But I felt
right.
like even in Dead Reckoning, Gabriel was given more to do right here. And
Right.
so it's so weird doing. I mean, again,
Well,
we still in spoiler territory,
they
right?
changed the plot. Yeah, they changed the plot because it's like, well, he no longer working for the entity and he against the entity this time to control it. And like, all right, well, that'll make him any more
Yeah,
interesting.
that
Why
that
do
was
this?
that was weird
Like,
to me, right? Because yeah, in
yeah,
Dead Reckoning, he
I,
was just basically this acolyte for the entity, right? Following his every orders and blah blah blah. All of a sudden, it's like, well, yeah, now I know where the source code is because if you remember in Dead Reckoning, he found this out from one of the guys who works at IMF. Then he killed the guy
right,
afterwards. Like, yeah, now I'm the only one who knows, right? And then, well, through Gabriel's assassin for hire, Paris, right? Played by Mantis of all people. Yeah, he found out
right,
where it is, right? Which is in this submerged submarine, right? So he knows that, right? But still, in my head, going into Final Reckoning, I thought that Gabriel was going to go there. He was going to go into the submarine. But it says like, no, well, you go inside. And just to touch on this, right? I didn't think about it until literally this movie opens with it, right? The shot of this big sort of like sort of not so much a suitcase, but basically like this. I forget what you call it. It's like part of like magic tricks or whatnot, right? Yeah, basically the person goes inside this thing and he's locked in, right? Yeah, and there's a
right.
device where he could actually communicate with the entity. That actually was in Dead Reckoning, right? Because that was how
Right,
Gabriel got onto the train in the first place. He was in that same
right,
thing. I didn't think about that until I saw it there, right? But yeah, those moments with the entity talking to Ethan was cool. Yeah, but when you think about it, is like how he able to see all these future imagery of different landmarks in the world being destroyed is beyond me. I don't know, right?
right.
But you want to tell about what is AI, so it could generate a vision of what will
Yeah,
happen.
yeah. It's bullshit.
It is bullshit,
I
right? But
don't,
whatever, moving on, right?
yeah,
But yeah, and that pretty much propels Ethan to do what he has to do, right? I was like, all right, no problem. But I thought that Ethan would have been motivated enough to go and find this thing in the first place, right? So just getting nitpicky now. That's where I felt like the framing of this particular entry didn't work for me, right? 2 months after the fact, right? So now you have these people who are all worshiping the entity, right? And I thought that it was gonna have some, like they call them a culter. That's what the news reports say, right? So I thought that it's gonna have a moment where some cultists try to attack Ethan and Benji, whoever it is, and they have some nice little shoot or whatever. That don't even happen. It's just one or two people that will just sort of pop up and be like, oh wait, is that person like an entity worshiper? Oh shit, that's what
right.
they do. But like, no, like
They,
you tell
they,
me
they,
there's a cult. Show me the cult now. You know?
right, yeah. We don't see them at all. They only make one kind of reference, and that was one of the guys in the submarine.
Yeah, yeah,
As, as,
exactly.
as
Yeah,
we don't see him. That
yeah,
was it. And like, all right, well, I mean, when did the entity get to this dude? Because he wasn't
yeah.
in the submarine for months, or whatever it is. However, it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter. Uh,
and that's just few things, right? And believe it or not, I felt there was little entity to begin with because watching back
right,
Dead Reckoning, I kind of like the fact that he was just fucking up like video recordings and always
Yeah,
like 10
exactly.
steps ahead of people. That made
Right.
this AI character a great threat. But now you just tell me,
Right.
well, 2 months passed and yeah, he controlling a lot of things. So cyberspace is no more. Well,
Right.
almost no more.
But it-
And now the only thing we really hear about the entity is that he controlling all the nuclear weapons of
right.
like
Exactly.
that's it.
That's why it falls flat for me, because like when it had to calculate and it needs to control all the nukes instead of just some of the nukes, and it's like, all right, I mean, they come up with that. To me, that's a kind of lame ticking clock, to be honest.
Agreed.
So that's, yeah, so whatever. But
Yeah.
whatever, like it didn't bother me, and the stuff with Angel Bassett was actually okay. Like I actually like
Yes.
that
Yeah.
tension. They make that work for what it was.
Especially when you find out
as I said-
that you have a son and well of course
Right,
he's
right,
the
right,
armed
yeah.
forces, right? But I like that it
Right.
adds the tension, especially with the decisions she had to make, right? In terms of do we fire now or do we wait
Right, that was
for
a nice-
the enemy to attack us
Yeah,
first?
that was a nice. Yeah, that was a nice ticking clock on its own. Like it's like, oh well, they're gonna have to make this calculation to mess up the entity from a strategic standpoint, kind of thing. But she like, we have to trust Heaton because he could solve the whole thing. We have to wait, but we can't wait because we don't know what he's doing. And I that was okay. Like that's not bad. Like
Yeah.
I like it for what it was. But again, I just wish the set pieces were stronger. Well, they were strong, but because they weren't as fast an action pace. The pacing of it was different.
Yeah, there
and I
was
suppose
a
that's the style
significantly
of-
slower pace in this one
Right.
than I would say from
Right.
from every other MI film, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind. That's a choice. Like they made a choice, it's fine. Because the two big sequences, the one with the
With the-
submarine.
Yeah, the submarine and then
That's
this
a
one
great
with the
scene.
biplane, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I mostly appreciate it from a technical standpoint. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this real impressive. But
Nah,
like it wasn't
it
like
is
wow
both
in there.
just both.
It wasn't
like,
wow
like-
in there.
True. Same here too. Like I love the
Yeah.
sound design. I love the look
Yeah,
of it,
it looked
right?
great.
But
Yeah.
going back to Rogue Nation, I was just thinking about that moment where,
Right.
Tom, Ethan was in that wherever it is. I forgot what it was. It was this
Yeah, it was like
water
a
conductor kind of
dam.
thing. A
Oh,
dam,
right,
right?
a
And
dam
he
or
had
something like that.
right,
Yeah.
but remember he had this 6-minute time limit
Right.
because after
Yeah,
6 minutes he can't breathe, right? But this one
Right.
is like, all right, well, and I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe it's
this
just something
time-
that I miss, right? But they keep talking about, we boy from Severance and some other people that was on the
Yeah,
American
Bullcheck,
submarine
yeah.
kept talking about, certain conditions. If you're there for too long,
Yeah.
this, that, to the third. And
No,
I didn't really see that
yeah.
though. It was just more about
No,
getting
no.
the device quick.
That's the problem.
You know?
No, that's the problem. Is that it's difficult to it's basically the bends. So you're worrying about the bends now. You know, when
Yeah.
you go down too much pressure, just kind of f up your body.
Yeah.
When you go down and they come back too fast, or you come back nitrogen in your body to dissolve and it's fuck up your body in all these ways, right? I don't remember the medicine behind the medical issues with the bends, but basically it's the bends. So they make a suit that address the bends for him. So it's this good suit, but he couldn't wear the suit, so you had to go back up without the suit, and that mess him up. But then they put him back in the suit, and then they basically cut like an edit. And it's like, oh, this is a real clumsy edit because
Yeah.
when he escaped everything that depends would I get to him, they cut the edit of what's her name? Haley Atwell rescued him.
Grace, yeah.
Rescued him. Yeah, Grace rescued him and put him in the thing to fix the Ben's problem. However, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. That's
again,
all right. That's
I-
couple more
as I
things, couple more things before
Yeah.
wrap up, right? Yeah. But the set pieces for what they are fine, right? The biplane moment was great though. But it
Right.
did not wow me as much as, believe it or not, like the end of Fallout, like just that moment with the
Right.
helicopters
The
and
helicopter,
Cliff and all-
yes.
that kept
Yeah.
me on my seat, right?
That-
This is what
exactly.
especially the music, right? And shout out because it's not Lorne Balfe who did the score for this one, right? Because he worked on Dead Reckoning and the last few, right? They got 2 new people to do it, and I thought they did a solid job, right? But yeah, the biplane moment was really excellent, right? That I would say that was worth the price of admission, right? Because again, it is Tom Cruise front and center or back, front, left, up, down, wherever it is. Yeah, basically jumping from like plane wing to plane wing, right? Doing all this
Yeah,
stuff. And it is like there are moments where I'm like, dog is really
It
him,
technically
like it's really
You know,
him,
that was it. It's technically very impressive. It's like, look, this is the last movie maker. It's like the
Yeah,
last-
boy.
Right. It really feel like that. And it was technically impressive but the first the nature of the pacing, it
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really work all that well. That's the problem.
Exactly, and it
But
just
it's
keeps
not bad,
cutting,
eh?
and it keeps cutting back to Benji, for example, who
Right,
is trying to do this thing, and but let's to touch on just quickly to touch on Benji and Luther, right? In
right,
my head, I honestly thought that Benji was the one who was gonna die, though, because there was kind of
right. Me too.
hinting
Yeah,
at that in Dead Reckoning. There was numerous moments where it's
right,
like, all right, well, like there's a moment where Benji was supposed to like disarm this nuke, and there's a question where he
right.
asks like what thing matters more than anybody, and he says family. And so I thought like, oh well, Benji got dead, right? But then again with this whole 2 month jump cut now, yeah, now Luther is hospitalized. I was like, no, like all this no son, no the fact he got dead. And all right, cool,
Yeah,
he get kidnapped and this, that, he too. But I was like, but like the moment I see him hospitalized, I was like, hey, man got dead. And he does that, right? But I do like that you get this really heartfelt, right? Yeah, voiceover narration near the end, right? Where basically this
right.
last note that he gives to Ethan. And I think like given his character and their trajectory, it makes a lot of sense, right? And where it stops off now, where like yes, the story could end right there, but it could continue on, right? It does have the feel of how Ghost Protocol ended, right? Where just characters kind of walk off and they disappear in the crowd.
Well,
That's
here's
kind
the
of
thing
what they
with
do
that, eh?
there. Yeah, that's what they're going
Here's the thing
for.
with that. I think, if I remember correctly, Gross Protocol was supposed to end off Tom Cruise's run
Oh,
of
okay,
the
right. That would explain when you
that was
walk
the
off and they
intent.
disappear, right? Yeah.
That was the intention. The intention was to do that because I think they wanted Jeremy Renner. The studio, I think, wanted Jeremy Renner, and it was a whole back and forth. But because Ghost Protocol did well, because 3 didn't do good. I think 3 didn't make money, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the studio wanted to replace him. Wanted to replace him with Jeremy Renner. And they come in, and that's why Jeremy Renner don't really make an appearance because it's a whole thing with he and Tom Cruise. But yeah, it's so nice about it. Look, I would still say where else would I imagine? I want to see two things. I felt the ending was kind of flat for me in terms of like what it was what they wanted to do. Like again, it's a good send off for Bobby with that tool. But I didn't think it was that interesting as it is. And I felt if you're doing something serious, they could have probably kill off all of them. Like kill off all the old gardener. So Luther, Benji and Tim.
And Grace?
And
No, but Grace,
no, not
like
Grace.
no.
Not Grace. No, not Grace. Kill off the old guard, all the people from the
Oh,
beginning.
the older characters. Right.
Right. All of them. There's all 3 of them are dead. So the whole IMF team die off, and then you continue it, or if you continue it, you continue it with Grace or whoever it is now who going forward.
And maybe could now they saying that Paris is a party team, but another nitpick, folks.
Right.
'Cause I didn't even think that she was gonna be in this because I thought that she
Right.
died. Like when she gave the last piece of information at the end of Dead Reckoning, I thought that she dead,
No,
right?
no, yeah,
Now you
yeah,
see
she
she
didn't.
alive, and they still
Yeah,
give
she
her
was, yeah.
little characterization, just like I could fight
Yeah,
and I
so
talk
that's-
French. That's it. That's
Yeah,
really all you
exactly.
need to know.
Yeah, so that's about that. What they could do with it as it is. Because clearly, to me, I find Haley Atwell is like a big enough star where they're setting up that Dead Reckoning.
Yeah.
They're setting her up to like kind of replace him in a sense. Maybe like he could die, whatever. I don't really care as it is. As I said, I would love to see a version of this with Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning edited, trimmed down.
Oh,
trimmed
yeah.
Tell a better story. I still am hard pressed to think why these movies, one, needed to be 2 parts, and then 2, be as long as they were. Like they were ready
Agreed.
to be this long.
Yeah,
Neither
and
need
if I
to be
gotta
this
say
long.
one last nitpick, yeah, I felt that length, boy. I felt
Yeah,
it, right?
because
Boy.
it's one thing if it was one big movie, if it was one movie, right? If Dead Reckoning was like the final thing, and it was one movie and it was as long as it was, you could kind of let that slide, right? With all that action and thing, and then you tell this one story that long. Fine. All right, I still don't know why you split it, but we know why you split it because you want to make money in the theater. It's
Of
all do that
course.
bullshit, Harry Potter and
Yeah.
Hunger Games and all that bullshit, right?
Yeah,
It's all do
but
that bullshit. Fine.
if I could just
Yeah.
ask a stupid question, that's just a stupid point about that, right? But both this one and Dead Reckoning could be regarded as 2 of the most expensive movies ever made, given the budget and the location, all that good shit, right? So why not just
I don't think they're going to make that.
why not just make it into one, as I say,
Yeah.
grand movie there? Like just go for broke, right? Just throw everything out there now, you know what I mean? And let
fair.
that be the end, right? Instead of splitting it
To
up,
be fair, there's another case of the real world fucking up the thing, because it's set up, the real world, like in terms of what Tom Cruise wanted, or where a lot of this stuff would go, in terms of like him as a filmmaker, what we're gonna get with respect to the real world material, actual AI, like the AI stuff, not as interesting as a beat. Like that would have been really interesting 10 years ago, but not now. as a big beat. So they make it that. But I don't know. Like as I say it, it should just be one movie and make a bigger deal out of it. But the real world shit that had COVID to deal with and all that. So I don't know. It kind of just hobble and trip at the ending. As it was. As I said, I could imagine some fan, you could go on some one of them fan edit websites and see somebody cutting together these two films and putting it together. But I still enjoyed it for what it was. I still dug it for what it was. It end off, Ethan's career, and I think it should end now. Enough.
I,
Right?
I
Unless you're
agree,
gonna
man. Like okay, I love spending money as much as I love spending money to watch Tom Cruise doing siege shit. And in this case, I do hope that this film is nominated for best stunts. Now that it is an actual Academy Award nomination, I think that this show has the right to win. Because I would say for this year, best stunts I've seen all year, right? But yeah, man. Like there's only so much Mission Impossible movies we could take in real life, right? Remember this franchise started in '96, and here we are,
30 years,
almost 30 years later, right?
About 30 years, yeah.
Yeah. So we can move on, right? But I mean, as a send off, I wish that it was stronger, though. I wish that it was just the fireworks extravaganza that it could have been. That Dead Reckoning, I would say, ultimately was, right, compared to this, right?
Right.
But I just felt it was just bogged down by this over long run time, and then the over seriousness of it all. Though, when at the end of the day, as I said, Ethan Hunt's the only person who could save us, only him, right? And last point, right? I do like how that works into the character of Ethan, right? Where the man will say, "Trust me, no, trust me, I will get you out of this. Trust me," and he will put himself at risk, knowing that he could die, though. But the man's like, "Look, if I see I gotta do this, right?" And I kind of like that about the character. It really puts him at risk a lot of times. And, there's numerous moments you could see throughout this whole franchise where this man could have died, right? But I like that, he always puts himself out there. And I also like, lastly, that there are consequences to this, right? Because, I mean, that's how he lost his wife in the first place, and that's how he almost lose his girlfriend and whatnot, right? And you see how that decision making cost him in the long run, right? But for what it is, I'll still give this a light to decent 3.5 out of 5. It is worth checking out if you want to see it on big screen. Fine, but I strongly recommend that you rewatch Dead Reckoning first before jumping into this, right?
I know that was another big problem I had with this too. Like that's last point. Like because of the editing, and they just have so much flashback to shit. Like, bro, I watch this already.
I know. I know.
Yeah, it's like I just seen it, but the flashback, and like this, all of this bullshit, just holding back the film in terms of the length now. Like,
agreed.
Exactly. It bogged down the movie with nonsense now. As I said, I can imagine a good fan edit of this that would just like trim this down, trim most of the fat, have it pace a little better, because again, the pacing in this was pretty bad, especially that first hour or so. They could have just trimmed down, and I can imagine somebody putting out something like a 3 hour something of both films in one product, and I could watch that. I could watch that. I don't mind that. But this as it was, kind of didn't really work. Mostly because of the length, and that's the main obstacle to it. Like the plot is the plot. Like whatever. James Bond, these movie plots really was never that great anyway. But it's mostly because of the beats and the set pieces, right? That's why they work, right? And like I don't think Rogue Nation is a masterpiece of a plot. I mean, I like the villain. I like what he was about. I thought it was kind of cool, but that was the reason why I liked it, just because it had really great set pieces, and then the tension and the editing and how it comes together at the end, especially that final clash where Ethan had to just basically like go for broke and do the most insane bullshit to get through.
Yeah.
Right. Because Solomon Lane's calculations don't help them. That kind of stuff. That's why it works. Like it's that, right? This I didn't really get that, because S.I. Morales don't really work as well. That kind of stuff. All little small things, it kind of died over that about 1,000 cuts, but because it's so well made, I still have to get a pass now, and that might still get a decent enough score from me, as it was, because like I'm watching this really good fucking filmmaking on screen here, though, in terms of like just the stunts and whatever it is, and that is, look, they always used to write those films like that, but I really wish they did they used to just make the stunts and then write a film around. That's all we used to get, but I really wish they do a better job with that, as it was. But whatever, still good. I still enjoyed it, because you had to go as a theater experience. I wish I went to IMAX actually to see it. I didn't go to see IMAX. I went
Yeah.
And I went to a little smaller screen. You know what that's inside. So,
I saw it on a smaller screen too, but I'm surprised that you wish you saw it in IMAX. If the story and the pacing, like if it was just better executed, I'd be like, this shit, I could have gone IMAX to see it.
No, but the cell is the spectacle. That's it. Like that is the strength of this film, and you have to see it in that glory, right? It's, I don't, like same thing with Top Gun. Top Gun is not a great story. You just look fucking good on a big screen. That's it. Now, which I see it on a bigger screen. That's it. Yeah, and it sell with that. So yeah, Bobby with that tool, good send off. He slide off cars when he shoots. They say that he's Tom Cruise, Tom Cruise. But it's Bobby with that tool, and it works. I still give it a score, and I dug it for what it was.
Right. Which for those who did not hear the spoiler-free review was a 7 out of 10, right? So last day, right, at the time of us recorded this, right, a glimpse at this on Facebook, right? I want to hear your thoughts on this, right? So apparently Tom Cruise is considering the idea of having a standalone movie, I should say a spin-off of Tropic Thunder, where he plays that really like crummy asshole director guy. I forget his name, right? Len something, I think it is. That could be something interesting, right? That could be really interesting, especially the post in quotes Mission Impossible world. I want to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that could work. I mean, the joke about Tropic Thunder was he's a director, and like whatever this fella doing. Remember he doing a show with the studio. Oh God, what is my name?
Ben Stiller, right? Yeah, he doing separate shit, right? Yeah.
Not Severance, but the studio. Who doing the show with Apple? Oh God, what's his name? God.
Seth Rogen.
Man. Seth Rogen, thank you. Right. You could do something like
right. The studio, which by the way, a review is coming. But yeah, continue.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, so you could do something meta and interesting with that. It had to be funny. That's the main thing. Like you could do all your meta and wink at the camera and lampshade on this. But like I get real fed up with that. So if I get fed up with that, and I am a sucker for that, I can imagine other people have no patience for that because it's more, the reason you remember this movie from 20 years ago, and that's why you find this joke is funny. Like enough. Like, write something genuinely funny and clever, make it work. Look at this coming from somebody who like this nonsense, who watching Star Trek Lower Decks and all these kind of things, right? So it's that. Interesting enough idea. Anyway, next.
Yeah, next.